This is Committee Chair Kalila Slater Harrington. I'd like to thank you all for joining the February 10th meeting of the Teaching and Learning Committee. If you have not done so, please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the call. Additionally, please turn your camera off if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is present. Please identify yourself first before speaking for the record. Commissioner Chicas Guzman. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Commissioner Woodruff has already let me know that she won't be with us today, but I am present. So we'll go ahead and get started. As we get started, I just want to acknowledge that we have entered Black History Month, and in honor of our science presentation today, I'll do a brief Black History Science Spotlight. Dr. Marie Daley was the first African-American woman in the United States to earn a PhD in chemistry. Her groundbreaking research revealed the connection between cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart disease. Fundamental knowledge we know now teach in every biology and health class. Dr. Daley also discovered early evidence of how smoking damages the lungs. Beyond her scientific contributions, she was a champion for equity in STEM, establishing scholarships to support minority science students. Dr. Daley's legacy reminds us how scientific discovery and educational opportunity go right hand in hand. All right, with that said, let's jump into the presentation. I believe we have Dr. Kevin Couple and Dr. Mary Weller leading the presentation today.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. Thank you for the little history information there. Fascinating.
Sure.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about K-12 through science. It's one of our curriculum content updates. I am Kevin Cuppett. I'm the Executive Director for Teaching and Learning, and my colleague presenting with me, as you said, is Dr. Mary Weller. She is our Director of K through 12 Science Programming. Our agenda today is really to talk about the alignment of the work that we do in science, some data around the achievement measures that we look at, what are our priorities within the science area, and what specific strategies are we employing to positively impact learning for our students. And we're very excited because today we're also bringing some voices from the field. So we have Justin Holbrook and Brianna Becker. Justin is the principal at Armistead Gardens, and Brianna is the assistant principal, but has taken on a significant role leading the science work there. So that's on the slate for today. Our alignment, as far as our board priorities, obviously priority one is where curriculum lands a lot, rigorous, relevant instruction. But if you look at the other one that we've highlighted there, it's really about equity and making sure students have access to science instruction, high quality science instruction, and science experiences. So that's how we align. The other area that we align is around the board's portrait of a graduate. Science falls certainly under that creative and innovative thinker. But importantly, and you're going to hear today, the importance of communication in the science area and having students develop some confidence and some flexibility of thought around scientific work. And the last point of alignment before I turn it over to Dr. Weller is bringing back, of course, your Board of School Commissioner goals. Science is not explicitly called out here, but as with much learning, we know that learning experiences across contents do interconnect for students. There's plenty of research around the idea that students who acquire knowledge from fields like science or social studies or the arts become stronger and more confident readers and writers. And there are certainly plenty of times in the science space for students to use mathematics as part of their language of science. And so we feel like the high quality work in science supports these, and you're actually going to see some interesting evidence of that when we talk about the Armistead Gardens example at the end of the presentation. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Weller as she takes you through some more specific information.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Cuppett, and good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Mary Weller. I'm Director for Science here in City Schools, and I certainly appreciate the opportunity to report to you today about science. I'll start the update with a little bit of orientation. The next 3 slides display proficiency data on the Maryland Integrated Science Assessment, or MESA, from 2019 through the 2025 administration. Though these data were shared with the board in the early fall, I'm showing them again today to provide some context for the programmatic priorities and strategies that I'll be discussing. And so this first display is for MESA 5, and it shows the percentage of students scoring proficient and above throughout Maryland, which is the blue curve, and in city schools, which is the black curve. The grade 5 MESA is administered in March each year to students in grade 5. Now, you're going to notice a gap in the reporting in 2020 and 2021, and this will be true on each of the data displays I'll share, and it's attributable to changes in state testing requirements during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the percent proficiency varies across years, with increases and decreases mirrored between city schools and the state overall. Many factors likely contribute to this variation, and one is undoubtedly the fact that a unique cohort of students participates in the assessment each year. Now, as noted on the screen, the proficiency levels in both Maryland and in city schools were higher in 2025 than in 2024. And in the second slide, we see the percentage of students each year who scored proficient and above for Maryland and city schools on the grade 8 MESA. And this test is administered to students during March of grade 8. And once again, there are ups and downs across the years that are mirrored in the 2 data sets. Notably, though, city schools shows increases in both the 2024 and 2025 administrations. And finally, in the third slide, you see the percentage of students throughout the state and in city schools who scored proficient or above on the life science MESA. And students participate in this test near the end of their course in high school biology. Now, there's a little less noise in these data from year to year, and we do see increases in both 2024 and 2025. Now, this test is unique in a couple of ways. First, it includes science ideas only from the domain of life science. Second, it's an end of course test, and that means that student scores account for 20% of the students' final grades in biology. Now, notably, on each of these tests, the proficiency rates for city schools are lower than those of the state overall. And though the magnitude of difference varies across years and across the test, it's persistent. And so in response, we've dug deeply into these data to understand some of the details about student performance. We've also triangulated with additional sources to identify 2 critical priorities and 4 high leverage strategies to more effectively prepare students for success on MESA and for scientific literacy overall. And so we'll move into those now. First, our critical priorities that are grounded in our vision. In city schools, we envision that all students will develop scientific literacy. Now, scientific literacy includes both scientific knowledge and scientific habits of mind, such as inquiry and analysis. Ultimately, our students, as they grow into adulthood, will use that scientific literacy to think critically, make decisions, pursue high-wage and rewarding careers, and respond to a changing world. Essentially, I'm describing our portrait of a graduate. In Maryland, the Maryland Integrated Science Assessment serves as the measure of scientific literacy for students. So in school year 25-26, as we work to reify that vision, we're focused on 2 key priorities. Our work is aimed so that students will, number 1, build durable scientific knowledge through engagement in science practice, and number 2, to become skilled writers who can communicate their scientific understanding effectively. And so with these two priorities top of mind, let's move into our key strategies that are driving our systemic efforts this year. The 4 strategies that are enumerated on the slide are deliberately designed for focusing and progressing towards those 2 priorities. First, we're working concertedly to deepen everyone's understanding of MISA and its demands. Second, we're supporting teachers to implement our strong instructional materials effectively so that young people engage with grade level appropriate science ideas actively as student scientists. Third, district staff, in collaboration with a host of dedicated school-based educators, is conducting a coherent and inclusive professional learning program so that learning experiences that are rooted in our instructional materials are responsive to students' needs. And fourth, we're investing heavily in evidence-based resources and professional learning designed to strengthen students' expository writing so that they can effectively demonstrate their scientific literacy on MISA and in life. So the next slides provide additional details. First, related to strategy 1, MISA. MISA is a uniquely complex and challenging assessment, and there's evidence that suggests that if stakeholders' understanding of MISA are incomplete, the resultant instruction may be incongruent with the demands of the assessment. So here are 3 critical points that we're emphasizing repeatedly. Number 1, the names MISA 5 and MISA 8 can lead to confusion. Both of these assessments are grade banded assessments, and they're more accurately named elementary MISA and middle school MISA to emphasize the wide swath of standards that are included. Preparation for these tests is frankly years in the making. Second, the test is a scenario-based test. Students encounter problems that are rooted in the standards, but the context of those problems on the test may be completely unfamiliar to students. So during the assessment, students must decode and interpret these novel problems. They must connect that information to their cognitive schema, and then they must retrieve the pertinent information from their long-term memory to sense make. Third, the assessment includes a variety of item types, but notably, there are 8 open-ended constructed response items where students must write about the sense that they've made. In short, the cognitive demand is high. And frankly, when we've invited teachers and principals and central office staff to take a sample MISA, their reactions have made clear that this demand is felt even by folks who have advanced degrees. Let me give you a glimpse on this next slide. So on the screen is just a very small snippet of a released elementary item. In this particular case, students are provided with 3 information sources about an investigation into magnets. And the sources are seen in the information tabs over on the left-hand side of the screen. And each tab includes information presented in a variety of ways. Like you see on the screen here, you see traditional text, as well as a diagram and a data table. And then over on the right-hand side of the screen, you see an example writing prompt. And in this particular case, students are asked to use evidence that they've gathered from the information sources, coupled with their held knowledge, to write about how they would optimize performance in this hypothetical magnet competition. This little snippet only tells a fraction of the story. More information about MISA and access to practice assessments are all available using the link on the slide. But here's the bottom line. To be successful on MISA, it's insufficient simply to have knowledge. Students must make sense of complex information and communicate that sense via writing. It's not an impossible task by any means, but we, the adults, must understand the demands so we can position students for success. Strategy 2, implementing our instructional materials. City Schools uses very strong instructional materials that cast students as student scientists across K-12. The instructional materials align to the standards at each grade level, and they're intentionally designed to center students as scientists who build understanding, build their cognitive schema through carefully guided investigation, analysis, and sense making. Units are built on important, culturally responsive scientific problems, and coherence is achieved through the use of storylines that guide students to apply their knowledge and skill to solve problems. But facilitating this sort of a journey for students is no small task. And so the science teachers throughout 25-26 in the district are sharpening their implementation of these materials through the cycles of professional learning. Educators are being supported to internalize and implement the instructional materials in ways that promote effortful thinking among students and supports students to demonstrate and deepen their understanding through discourse and higher quality writing. Strategy 3, inclusive professional learning. All students deserve scientific literacy. And so district staff, in collaboration with teacher facilitators, is designing and implementing an unprecedented integrated professional learning model that prioritizes inclusivity beginning at the design stage. Cross-functional teams that include experts in science instruction, special education, and English language development are continually working together to design and implement professional learning experiences that support teachers' responsive use of instructional materials in spaces and ways that leverage the collective expertise of the educators and center the needs of students. But I also want to shout out a particular case of this inclusive professional learning, and that's at the early elementary grades. There, professional learning is designed and implemented to emphasize connections across the academic disciplines. Teachers in these early grades have unique and demanding instructional responsibilities to teach all students all contents in a day. And so the professional learning model emphasizes coherence and connectedness. So neither teachers nor our young scholars are operating in artificial content silos. And fourth, supporting expository writing. I'm really excited to report on significant work that's been accomplished to integrate the writing revolution into science. Look, writing by itself is one of the most cognitively demanding tasks that there is. But TWR equips students with strategies to reduce that cognitive load and to make space for content understanding. And in science, this means that when TWR strategies are integrated thoughtfully into carefully designed learning experiences like those that are found throughout our instructional materials, students deepen their understanding of science and increase their skill at written communication. And this holds significant promise to position students for increased success on MISA. My team, along with a trained cadre of revolutionaries who are teachers in our schools trained in TWR, have overlaid TWR strategies into existing instructional materials at key grade levels. As of today, about 300 carefully designed, distinct resources are in place, and the team is moving forward to expand to other grades for implementation in school year 26-27. Use of these resources is built into professional learning, and we're working collaboratively to measure efficacy and to apply refinements. But that's a lot of theory. So now let's move to the good stuff, and let's move into how this translates into schools. I'm really pleased to welcome Principal Holbrook and Assistant Principal Becker from Armistead Gardens Elementary Middle School today. And before I turn it over to Principal Holbrook, I would just like to set a bit of context using Armistead's 2025 middle school MISA data. So on the screen, you see the MISA 8 data that I showed earlier, except the year-over-year data from Armistead Gardens has been overlaid in yellow. And from 2019 until 2024, you can see proficiency at Armistead tracked tightly along with city schools. However, Armistead showed a significant upward trend in proficiency in the 2025 administration, and I don't think that this is just a spurious increase. And so Principal Holbrook, I'm going to turn things over to you to discuss some of the strategies and actions that helped usher in these increased scores. And then I think we have an opportunity to answer questions after that. So Principal Holbrook.
Thank you, Dr. Weller. I appreciate it. I'm coming from you today, actually from DC, where I am the new elected president-elect of the State Principal Association. So I'll be on Capitol Hill tomorrow advocating for school funding, which we know that our students and staff deserve in Baltimore City. So this is not my office, I promise. I don't have these fancy corbels, but just excited to be here today. I want to take a moment first to shout out our assistant principal, Brianna Becker, for the work that she has done to lead this work along with our staff. This big jump in 8th grade is due to our teachers, but also because as an assistant principal, she's truly leaned into instruction and has led our collaborative planning team in science. Particularly things that we do at Armistead Gardens that make us a little different is we actually have collaborative planning for teachers in just science. We have ELA, we have math, and we have social studies, but we also have science time. And we break those actually aligned to how MISA is scored. So we have a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade team. All those science teachers meet together for 60 minutes through the week. And then additionally, a 6th, 7th, 8th grade team as well. As Dr. Weller mentioned, that mirrors the content that is covered in those assessments so that our teachers can collaborate and share standards across grade levels and we can build coherence. Other things that we have done intentionally to impact the MISA scores is implementing writing as many times as possible. And Ms. Becker can provide more context. However, some things that we focus on specifically are CERs, which are claim, evidence, and reasoning passages from released items from MISA, as well as other items that ask kids to apply the content. If you take the MISA assessment, and I would ask that everybody does, you'll notice that it does take science, information, and content, but it really is applying it in writing. It is more of a literacy test than a science test. So it's a very interesting and difficult one to complete. With the writing revolution and the CER combination, we back mapped assessment and back mapped the curriculum so we could make sure that every single lesson was taught within a great pacing and that kids also then were given one-on-one writing conferences so they were able to get targeted feedback. At Armistead Gardens, we are 74% Latino with 37% of our kids receiving ELD instruction. And for us, that's not an excuse. That is an asset that we leverage. And we actually use these one-on-one conferences to push vocabulary, push language acquisition, and the true writing concepts that kids need, no matter if they are special ed, ELD, or a general education student. We also have incorporated our ELD teachers this year into science. So we've done some co-teaching models where we've been able to increase student access as well to continue to push the importance of science across all grade levels. 3 things I would ask of anyone listening or anyone on the board would be protecting science instruction is important. It gives kids spaces to be creative. It gives kids space to apply content and think about real world problems. I would also ask that we protect teacher collaborative time, as that is crucial to any type of data movement or any student growth, is the teachers do the work and need the time to collaborate as professionals. And the 3rd thing is take the MISA. I know it sounds simple, but take it and really understand what our students are asked to do. It will really put you into a position of feeling like a 5th and 8th grader and understanding the big lift that's being asked. Assistant Principal Becker, at this time, do you have anything that you would like to add from your seat?
No, Principal Holbrook, you did a really good job at it. I just wanted to say that we also, what is really big is that I had a brand new science teacher in the 8th grade, and it can be done anywhere, even as a new teacher. I just think it's just leading them. And we really dug into looking at student writing last year. Like every collaborative planning, we looked at student writing. And we're really excited. I'm really, really excited about this year's scores because I took over grades 3, 4, and 5 to lead science this year. Last year, I just led 6 through 8. But this year I led both bands, and I'm really excited to see our 5th grade and our 8th grade data continue the upward trend that it's having. And I think it's just our biggest thing with the writing also was the TWR. We used the because but strategy in there, and I think that helped with students understanding and explaining their reasoning when it comes to all of the CERs or the writing prompts that they had to do. So we're really excited for this year, and hopefully we can continue that upward trend. That is all. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Assistant Principal Becker, and thank you, Principal Holbrook. And so I will turn it back to the commissioners for any kind of questions, please.
Okay, so can I check in with board staff to see if any other commissioners have joined?
Hi, Commissioner. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay joined for a second and then dropped off. I think you still might be the only one on the call.
Perfect. I get all the time.
Can you
All right.
hear me?
Oh, Kiana Bay, you're there. Okay, great.
Okay. All right, now I'm on. I just got in the door.
Oh, excellent. Just not sure if you had the benefit of hearing the presentation, but I'm going to jump into some questions.
Okay. I'm
So,
going to kill my mic and I'm going to hear you so far and then we'll move forward.
sure thing. All righty. Thank you, everyone, for such a great presentation. I do have some questions, and forgive me if I'm not looking directly at the screen. I have multiple screens going here. Can you give me some context on, as I look at the data that you've provided, for example, I'll look at the 5th grade MESA and proficiency. It looks like, for example, proficiency in 2022 was 8.7, and it went down. And you may have mentioned this, was there a change in the test, or what would, can you give some context both at a, I see at the state level it went down as well as the district level. What happened in 2023 that the trajectory, well, no, it went down in 2024, excuse me. Is there something that happened in 2024 that would warrant the decrease there?
Yeah, so thanks for that question. I hope I didn't give everyone vertigo as I scrolled back through the slides just to get to those data. And so, you know, it's difficult to pinpoint precisely what may have happened in order to have brought around about that decrease, but I'll hypothesize a couple of points. And I want to emphasize again that it's a different cohort of students every year. And so if we think about students who were in 5th grade in 2024, let's see, if we back map that they would have been in 4th grade in 2023, 3rd grade in 2022. I think I just lost count. 2nd grade in 2021, 1st grade in 2020. And so we may see some impact from starting school under COVID conditions. That's certainly one possibility. I think we also have to bear in mind that the test changes every year. So there are several forms of the test, and the items, we call them item sets, will vary from year to year. And so I don't have any ideas to exactly what those item sets might have been, but there is that variable that's happening too. So it makes it not a controlled experiment from year to year.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to, thank you for that. The other thing I wanted just to acknowledge, I absolutely love hearing the work of Armistead Gardens and how the presentations are being designed where we get in real life what's happening and on the school level. And I want to acknowledge the hard work. I love hearing about the writing revolution and the claim, evidence, reasoning. I'm losing my words today. Approach that is being, a method that's being employed. Because I think, Principal, you very accurately said, like, this is a writing test. And yes, we have to find science principles down and understand those things. And so I want to just say, like, I recognize the great work that is going into this. That being said, I also noticed that we're on an upward trajectory, but our proficiency is still low. So I'm looking at like 8th grade where we're at 12.7 proficiency. Again, I'm glad that we have experienced growth across 2023, 2024. And, but I'm concerned about such low proficiency. And so I'm wondering if we keep at this tick of rate of improvement, how long will it take where we're seeing dramatic increases, where we have more students who are the preponderance of our students being proficient?
So yes, we absolutely must help position our students for success.
Mhm.
And I think that this case study of Armistead Gardens for me, Mary Weller, is particularly poignant because we see such a significant increase over just a year, which
Right.
which indicates to me this promise of really understanding the assessment, having our own assessment literacy as adults, but then helping our students to build the necessary skills and stamina and confidence in order to assail the test. In terms of time, I will mention that I worked with principals last year to forecast out over about 5 years, how much increase we would need to make year over year in order to close that gap. Now that gap is always changing, just as we've discussed, because the state performance may also increase and decrease. But I think that is a strategy that when we think about an increase in year one and then compound that increase in year two, how we might be able to close that gap in about 5 years. Now, if all schools made the sort of growth that Armistead made in a year, then it would be accelerated much beyond that 5-year point. But I think we probably need to keep it at a manageable growth.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, if all students follow the path of Armistead Gardens, or all schools did, yeah, we'd have astronomical growth pretty quickly. So congratulations to Armistead. I think that they're a good case study to have shown what a synergistic approach is, where you have everyone coming to the table and really driving the improvement. So congratulations to you, Principal Holbrook, both on achieving results with regard to science, but also on your president-elect status.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I would also name, for us, like in the 20% is not good enough, right? Like we want to continue to push and get better. I do think things that Dr. Weller's talked about is as a network now, we are starting to have these conversations and take the practices that we implemented at Armistead and take it across our network. So I'm confident that we will see some bigger growth as we get more accustomed to the assessment and how it's more of a writing assessment than just science.
Yes. Listen, I wrote down your 3 asks. One is the last one to actually take, Misa. What grade is this particular question for in the presentation? 5th grade.
That was a 5th grade released item.
Yeah, I mean, I was an okay student, but I might have put my head down on this one. I might have just put my head down, took a little rest before I tried to attempt writing. And I can't confidently say whatever I wrote as a 5th grader would have made sense. I can't confidently say whatever I would write now would make sense. So there's that. What concerns me, and I think you've named this, Dr. Weller, is that it takes students to, one, kind of understand the science principle of magnets in this particular example, and then be able to translate it and not actually have the magnets there to sit there and click together and see, right? You're just using the data that you see. And so if a student actually needed to have hands-on or what have you in order to be able to process this, I can see why it is difficult. it would be difficult for a student to answer. But I can also see how being able to write down their reasoning on whatever answer that they come up with would be really important. And so I really do love to hear how the multiple writing methods and the synergistic approaches is helping. That is all of the questions that I have, but Commissioner Bay, did you have any questions based on what you're hearing?
Not at this time.
Okay. We can always follow up with more questions as well. I look forward to seeing where this goes and seeing what I know will be quick advancement given the approaches that you shared today. Thank you so much. Job well done.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All righty. Let me move us on to the next part of our agenda. Compliance report. I think we only have one procurement item.
Compliance to procurement now?
I think we only have, we don't have any compliance. I said procurement. I think we only have one.
Yep. Yep, good afternoon. Catherine Kamenecki from the procurement department. And we do just have the one item. And this is the Chief Academic Officer and the Executive Director of Special Ed request the board's approval of a contract with Riverside Insights to provide the Woodcock-Johnson assessment. The estimated annual contract amount is $200,000 and the contract term is February 19th, 2026 through June 30th, 2029.
And is this 200,000 per year or for the entire period? I'm sorry.
It's an estimated annual amount, so each year is up to $200,000.
And what is the test? What is the assess? What is it assess?
I think Casey or special ed. Let me see to this.
Yeah, Katie, this is Casey Davis, Director Academic Operations. Latoya Lewis should be on with us. I believe she was given presenter rights. She's really the expert in this space, so I want to make sure that she's responding to your question, Commissioner. Do we see Latoya on? I don't see her. If not, Denise, I know you also have experience with the Woodcock-Johnson. I believe that you have presenter access. I wonder if you could provide Commissioner Harrington with a bit of detail about what that assessment does for us.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Denise Mabry, Director of Compliance and Due Process and Office of Special Education. Woodcock-Johnson is educational assessments for students with disabilities or general ed students as well to determine their academic level required to see if they need specialized instruction or specialized services based on the assessment. We utilize it across the district. Schools also have access to order the assessments if needed for students for assessments as they go through the process for 504 or IEP. So it's like an educational assessments for our students.
Okay, so it's given prior to the designation as special education.
Yes.
So
the
okay.
Assessment is utilized during the IPT meeting to determine if a disability is determined based on assessment.
Got it. Okay. I think that is all that I have. No further questions on it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you, Dr. Mabry. All righty, I think it is time for public comment. Members of the public who would like to comment to this committee can do so by written or pre-recorded testimony. Please submit your written testimony, or your pre-recorded video the day before the committee meeting. Up to 5 individuals will be given the opportunity to provide comment to the Teaching and Learning Committee. Speakers will be granted 3 minutes, and all public comments should address teaching and learning related issues. Individuals or groups interested in providing comment to the committee may sign up in one of 3 ways. They can email public comment at bcps.k12.md.us or call our board office. You may also call our board office with any questions that you have about this procedure. I should have read this part in the beginning. Sorry, guys. Finally, the chat function during our virtual meetings is not used as a tool for gathering feedback or answering questions from the public. If you do have questions, I hope that you will reach out to our board office. All righty. I think that brings us to our close. Board office, keep me honest. Yes.
Roger. 1 second. Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, you are correct, Commissioner.
All righty. So our next meeting is Tuesday, March 10th. And we will be focused on just the district graduation goal update, secondary success and innovation, and we'll be reviewing proposed changes to the operator renewal process. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.